So.
Oh, wow.
That's
okay,
not,
yeah.
That's not
I
fair.
mean,
That's not fair to the dark roast. This is going to be difficult. I'm going to go back and taste them all.
Let's do that.
Most of my cups are at the same temperature now.
Yeah, well, right now most of mine are.
And number one, very bright, brightly sweet, fairly light-bodied. A lot of the aromatic excitement, the floral and fruit notes are gone now that it's at room temperature. Number two was a natural, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of the roaster again?
The roaster is called Aroma Ridge on number 2.
And that's a very nice natural.
3 is La Manita.
Yeah. Kind of a deep-toned, restrained and balanced washed coffee. And we have the lactic acid coffee in number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Which does not cool very well, in my view. Finally, we have the somewhat darker roasted. The roast character really comes up as it cools, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know whether to go all out classic and pick number 1 or I'm going to go out on a limb and say my number 1 is Modest Coffee, classic washed coffee. For 2, I think, is the natural Aroma Ridge, natural sun-dried, kind of elegant fruit. And the La Manita. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll never get to sit on Bill McAlpin's couch, but I think I'm going to put that number 3, the La Manita number 3. It sort of flattens a little bit as it cools. I guess the lactic acid ferment. Boy, I think that's way down somewhere, that one. I'm sorry. And I think the darker roast, those 2 are number 10. So.
Wow.
That's
okay,
not,
yeah.
That's not fair.
Mean,
that's not fair to the dark roast. The lactic acid,
not fair to the dark roast.
I'm sorry. So lactic acid is good solid 4, and the Café Clatch slightly darker roast is a solid, appreciated 5 for me. How about you?
I get it. And this reminds me, I'm sorry, I'm going to digress a bit. I normally try to discipline myself, but I'm going to go undisciplined. Maybe I've had too much caffeine. I had a friend who was a record producer, number of hits. He was quite successful, in the late Paul Lecca. And he told me that there's 2 ways to produce an album, and I'm going to liken this to an album. When you do the song order, you either have your hits first, and then you just, from then on, you decide that the audience never even listens to side 2, or some people look at it like their symphony. I suspect bands like the Beatles did this, and they build. They get to a point where the album is important. It's like a symphony, and they build climaxes, and the climax, of course, would be right at the end. So the biggest hit's often at the last song on the record. In this case, I think we've done it number 1. The way the order was, and I didn't really do this on purpose this way. Modest Coffee's 1, Costa Rica Peaberry from Aroma Ridge is number 2, and Bill's Coffee is number 3, and I'm sorry, I'll never get to sit on the couch again, even though I've sat on it before. I'm sorry to rub that in. But then but I wasn't reviewing coffees either, so 4 is Lacto fermentation, I'm torn about that because I think it's okay. I have to admit, I'm a coffee traditionalist. This one, I just think this is, to borrow another media phrase, this one is bad casting. I love their coffee sometimes, and I love their when they do a Sumatra. I love when they do even a number of coffees of theirs I've had. I really love their Mocha Java to die for. It's got the Yemen mocha in it, not a Costa Rica. The very thing that I most admire in Costa Rican coffees is the balance of it is thrown off by it, and I got too much of the low end and not enough treble.
All right, we have consensus then.
It's pretty damn close, yeah. I'm almost bothers me, but
Right.
But yeah, we are in total agreement. Let's go through the prices quickly. Well, let's see. This one costs $15.99 a bag, so that makes it $1.33 an ounce.
Coffee.
Modest is 54 cents.
Yeah. Repeat
a cup.
the name of the coffee if you would. Yeah.
I will do. You're right. Absolutely right, Ken. Pat's agreeing with you, and I hate that too. Okay. It's $22.95 a bag. It's $1.43 an ounce. It's 58 cents a cup. So between the two of them, they're approximately the same. We go up a little bit here with Bill McAlpin's coffee, which doesn't surprise me. And this is the one from Tico. And this is $22 a bag, $1.83 an ounce, and 75 cents a cup. You're inching up there. It's over 12 cents more a cup. And then you get to the lacto fermentation, and this one is Collectivo, and this is $21 a bag, $1.75 an ounce, and 71 cents a cup. So this is, again, a little higher priced. The final coffee clash.
Because of the
fermentation, the process or something. Yeah. I don't know if they're charging us extra for that.
Probably.
Right. I mean, I'm sure they get it for a certain amount of money, and then Coffee Klatch is back here, a natural dry process for $22.95 a bag, $1.62 an ounce, and 66 cents a cup. So it's really, I'd say these three are the comparative bargains of the tasting. And again, if you like a dark roast and a hearty coffee, it's fine. It has less of the Costa Rica character, which is in the acidity for me. Is that fast enough for you folks in the control room? For those in our audience who keep track of Agtron numbers, I know there's not a lot of people, but it is kind of an interesting factor to us.
Sample number 1 is 53.
53 classic medium roast.
Sample number 2 is 46.
46, just at the edge of dark, but not dark. Dark
just
medium.
An inch darker.
Sample number 3 is 66.
Sample number 3
66.
is the lightest roast, more of a third wave roast. Yeah, that was the La Manita too, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sample number 4 is close at 64.
Oh, that's another sample, quite light roasted, light medium.
And sample number 5 is 39 whole bean.
Yeah.
39. So this is the darkest roast.
That's definitely a dark roast. Yeah.
I think it shows that the lighter roast pays off generally.
I think it's interesting that the classic medium roast was our first choice. I mean, I'm sure it's the green coffee that impressed us, but also I think that it's a classic medium roast. It doesn't go light, doesn't go dark. It's kind of a nice balanced roast that probably developed the character of the coffee very nicely. But I think the roast really is only in play as a factor in the second one, the natural processed coffee. I think the slightly darker roast really developed the character, the fruit character, turned it nicely towards chocolate. The other two quite fairly light roasted. I think maybe, from my taste, maybe they could have been brought along slightly darker, more towards the classic medium.
Well, what do you think, Ken? I think this is pretty good. I've got enough caffeine now. I think I'll be up the rest of the day. I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Can't find anyone to listen to me.
Carry through the afternoon here in California. Thanks,
Well,
Kevin, for getting these very interesting coffees together. As usual, I really enjoy tasting them blind without knowing what they are. It focuses my senses much better than if I'm predisposed by a name.
Please like and subscribe if you want to see more shows like this.